What's up, guys, and welcome back to another daily outlook where I will go over the yen pairs and see how they could possibly be moving for the next couple of days. So I wasn't really active the past couple of days because I wasn't at home, and I also didn't found the market to be really nice, and that's why I didn't record my market outlook. But for the next days, I will make sure to be active and consistent with them. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get into the market and let's begin with the yen basket. So, as you can see, we are daily bullish, and in the long term, we expect to break a new swing high, as I have been calling for a couple of weeks now. So, we have been respecting this demand and we created this demand. And after the Trump's news with the tariffs, what happened? A lot of uncertainty around the world, so the yen is pushing in towards the upside, and I think the yen could push up higher soon. So I'm now looking at this demand where we could possibly trade in towards to trade up higher. But what have we seen? Well, we already tapped in towards this demand zone over here, boom, boom, and you can see that we're already reacting to trade up higher. So we could already trade up higher, okay? For now, we're failing to break the high, right? So we could still see that downside in towards that refined demand where I was first looking at. And then what do we have? We have this as liquidity, which we could take out in order to move up higher, right? So let's go over to the 4 hour now on the yen basket and let's see what we could be looking for. So again, this is our demand where we could be looking to head for, right, in towards the downside. We have some liquidity over here and we are swing bullish. So we are swing bullish. We could expect that pullback and then we could trade up higher. We already had a pullback in towards the discount prices. So again, we could still trade up higher in towards that high. But we should keep in mind that it's too, in my opinion, too risky to already put long positions in, because we still have a lot of liquidity left with open demand zones, and this could lead to a manipulation move in order to move up higher again. So I'm staying out of the market until the yen basket has retraced a bit or ends up just creating bullish order flow and trades up higher. Going over to euro yen, well, what did we see? We had, first of all, that consolidation. We made equal highs over here, so we now have a lot of liquidity above these highs, which we could take out in the near future. But we had consolidation, we then had manipulation, and I think in the near future we could possibly see that distribution before moving down lower. It is a possibility just because we have those weak highs. Now, what could be the case? Well, let's first look at the daily. We are, as you can see, consolidating. So from this level, we are looking at longs, and from this level, we are just looking at shorts. Because as you can see, if we take our range tool from the range low in towards this range high, and then we press range, then you can see this level will act like support or resistance, and over here too, right? I do not trade support and resistance, but it's common logic that we could just trade up higher from here. So we could be looking at those longs from here to trade up in towards those equal highs over here. So it is a possibility on the daily. So looking at the 4 hour, we could still expect downside, because this for me is a bad low, which is also the 4 hour swing. So it is still possible that we, after grabbing this liquidity, that we trade down lower in towards this swing low. So if the yen basket gives some upside momentum, I will possibly take a short setup from this supply, for example. So let's go to the 1 hour and let's see if we could catch a short setup, because this low over here is not a nice low and I would like to see that get taken out. Again, what can I see? Well, that we have taken liquidity over here and that we still have some liquidity left over here. So I'm looking for that to get taken out, a tap inside this supply zone, which again takes out liquidity. So what does that mean? It makes it a strong supply. So I'm now looking for a movement up in towards that supply. If we then see confirmation, I would then look for shorts in towards this bad low, which I'm also going to draw down on the 1 hour. A 1 hour no. So now I'm going to put my alert on top of this liquidity, and from there I will look at possible short setups to take a short, of course. Going over to GJ, let's start off with the daily. As we expected, we took that liquidity, and again, as we expected, after grabbing that liquidity, we could trade down lower as we did to take out all of those lows. So we predicted the market perfectly. Now, looking at this demand over here, we could expect a reaction because we also took a lot of liquidity under these lows. So if we look closer, what happened? We had early buyers, we then swiped early buyers, and now we could see some upside in towards, let's say, this supply zone, which could then push price back down lower, right? So for now, I'm looking at longs. Let's look at the 4 hour to see if we could possibly catch some long setups. First of all, what can I see? Well, of course, that we have an open demand over here. So that's definitely something we need to take a look at before looking at longs. And as you can see, it's still open. So I'm going to put my alert on top of this demand. And from here, I will look at possible long setups. So let's say we now trade down lower. This is our fractal high then. We break our fractal high, and then I will look for longs again to take out some liquidity above the highs. So that's what I'm waiting for on GJ. But for now, this pair needs some more development before entering a possible trade setup. Going over to USD Yen, looking at the weekly, what do we see? We are weekly bullish. We took weekly liquidity, and we're now inside this demand, which could push price up higher because I'm now looking for this swing high to possibly be made again. Now the only thing is that with all of this news, the technicals could shake up because the dollar could weaken and the yen could strengthen, which means a lot of downside on this pair. What do we also have? We also have bullish order flow. So from this supply, we could still see downside, and that's also what I'm looking for because the fundamentals are just so strong. So looking at the daily then, what do we see? Well, we are daily bearish. We have our first buyers, and then we could possibly swipe them today, and then we could see a retracement in towards this supply, take liquidity, and from there we could short in towards the downside again. But I think what is a nice long setup after swiping this bad low, because these are early buyers, then we could see for possible longs in towards this open supply with this liquidity laying open over here. So let's also draw in this little refined amount where we could trade up higher from. As you can see, this is perfect. So let's go to the 4 hour, and let's also draw that demand on the 4 hour over here like this. And what do we see? Well, this of course just misses the demand, so it definitely is a bad low. So this is our 4 hour no. I'm now looking for this to get swiped. Then I'm looking for a 4 hour fractal break, and then I will look at longs in towards this supply over here, and of course this liquidity that we just created. So that's definitely what I'm looking for. Also going to place my alert under this low, and then I will look at the fractal break in order to long. Going over to AJ, well, on AJ, let's first look at the daily. We can see that we had major liquidity over here where we could see a reaction from. So let's see if we took that liquidity. We just did. So we could see upside, guys. So definitely looking at the daily, well, we broke the daily swing. We grabbed liquidity under this major low, and we had early buyers. We now swiped early buyers, so we now could see upside, in towards this supply with, again, this as our liquidity, this high. So I'm definitely looking for upside on AJ technically, because fundamentally AUD is really weak and the yen is super strong, so this pair should just drop down further. Okay, so this was our 4-hour no, like this, and then this is our 4-hour yes, because we swiped that low. Now what I'm looking for is, of course, a 4-hour fractal break over here to occur, and then if we see that break, we see a retracement, we could take a long setup in towards, let's say, the premium prices of this move. Boom. Oh, boom. So in towards, let's say, this liquidity, for example, is something what we could target. So going over to NZD yen, keep in mind, guys, all of these setups are technically and not fundamentally, so you guys need to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, if you guys want to know more about fundamentals, then you can definitely make sure to check out fundamentals.com, which is a really, really good place to get your fundamentals from, because they give articles and everything. But let's go over to NZD yen. As you can see, we grabbed liquidity under this low. We still have some liquidity left under this low over here, which we could also take out in the near future. But for now, we already took liquidity, so we could already see a retracement in, let's say, for example, this supply, with this being our liquidity, which we could take out. Going over to the 4-hour, well, what do we see again? Early buyers, so this was our 4-hour no, like this. Oh, 4-hour no, and then this is our 4-hour yes for now. And now again, same thing, like waiting for that 4-hour fractal break to occur in order to look for longs. What could also happen, we break this low for our fractal, this becomes a 4-hour fractal high, we break the fractal high, and then we're also fractal bullish, so then we could also look for longs in towards these liquidity highs. So that's also a possibility, just waiting for more development. But again, I like other pairs or yen pairs more, because fundamentally they look better to go along. Swiss yen, for example, Swiss is really strong as well as the yen, so it, yeah, as you can see, it's just like kind of ranging a bit. So that's why it is ranging, because when the market is like uncertain, or there is a lot of uncertainty in the markets, then you will see that the Swiss franc will gain strength as well as the yen, and that will cause this kind of consolidation or this like ugly price action. But if you look at it, just technically, what do we see? Well, that we are swing bullish, that we have some bullish order flow, and that we have some liquidity to take out above these highs, as well as a yearly level that we could tap in the near future. So looking at the 1 hour over here, I might take a long setup along with this like bullish order flow. So we see we have demand, then we also have demand over here, right? And then we also have demand over here. And now what do we see? Well, we also have demand created over here. So what happens this morning? We saw consolidation with Asia. We then did a manipulation move, and now what is happening? The distribution move in towards the upside. So what is a possible setup? Stop loss underneath this low. What could we target? Maybe some liquidity over here. Well, I think we could possibly trade in towards this supply over here, which we could target and then manage our risk aggressively. So let's say we target that supply like this, and then we want a 1, 2, 3. Then this would be our setup. So let's take away these boxes so it gets clear. And as you can see, if we see that retracement in towards this entry point, then we could take a long setup. Looking at the 15-minute though, let's see what we could do. Again, that consolidation, that manipulation, and now the distribution looks really, really clean. We also tapped in towards this demand, so that's great that this demand is not open. And then well, we have demand over here with some liquidity as well located over here, but there's also some liquidity over here. So if I take this tool and I make it visible on the 50-minute as well, then what do I see? Well, then our entry is around that liquidity, let's say. So let's say we grab that liquidity and then we could still trade up higher. So I think this is looking like a nice setup, but again, I don't think our entry is the best because we could also just reverse from this demand. So the best entry that you could have is your entry up on top of here, but again, your stop loss needs to be under this low because these lows could get taken out before moving up higher. But I will keep you guys updated inside my update channel, inside the Discord, to see what if I'm going to take this long or not. But yeah, let's go over to the last pair. So let's wrap this up. So again, perfectly like predicted, this channel up, boom, to the downside. Again, we had a little channel up and then we saw that move in towards the downside as well. So now this is our 4-hour swing, which we of course expect to break. And then what did we see? Well, we grabbed liquidity above the highs again. So we now expect liquidity to get taken out at the lows because over here there also stepped in some sellers. Unfortunately, I didn't got an entry over here because this was my high that I wanted to break in order for this to be our fractal low, and then I could take a short setup, which didn't happen, which is unfortunate, but yeah, that could happen, right? But for now, I'm just expecting downside to take out this liquidity as well. So looking at the 1 hour, let's see if we could look for a possible setup. So of course, this is a liquidity that we want to take out. We have equal lows, right? We just took liquidity above this high, but I would like to see this supply to get hit, and from there I will look at some confirmation in order to trade to the equal lows. So I'm definitely going to put my alert over here, and then I will look at shorts in towards those equal lows because those are weak and it's in line with the trend and with liquidity and supply as well. So that was basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned a lot from it, and see you in the next one, guys. Ciao.